No, I don't believe.
Why?
Because I believe with the God.
I do.
Yes. Why?
Because I've seen them, and because the most rational people in the world that I know have also seen them. How about you?
I've had some experiences and have worked with people.
A surprising number of people believe in ghosts. A 2014 UK survey found that 52% of participants believe in the supernatural. A 2015 survey by Chapman University found that more than 40% of Americans believe places can be haunted by spirits. Eastern State Penitentiary. In the state of Pennsylvania, a prison was built in 1829, the very first prison of its kind to introduce solitary confinement, or what they used to call the Pennsylvania system. Known for its system of total isolation of prisoners and remarkable architecture, Eastern State proved to be one of the most controversial institutions of the pre-Civil War period.
The hub-and-spoke design is built with an octagonal center connected by corridors to 7 rating single-story cell blocks, each containing 2 ranges of large single cells. This kind of design does not allow the prisoners to interact with the outside world or any human except for the members of the clergy and improved model citizen. Food was passed through a slot in the door, and central heating and flush toilets made contact service work by staff unnecessary. This form of prison has been used in prisons throughout Europe and was highly effective, allowing for a constant security. The Eastern State Penitentiary is known for its cruel punishments, which could lead to the prisoner to mental and physical disorders or even death. For example, the water bath, in which the punishment includes dunking or drenching an inmate in ice-cold water, then chain them to a wall for the night. Or the mad chair, which the inmate would be chained and strapped into a chair so tightly they would be unable to move even a muscle. The duration of this punishment varied from a few hours to a few days. Their bodies would become sore and swollen from lack of circulation, making them unable to walk or move for hours, even days, after being placed back in their cell. These torture and the harness in this prison are believed to kill the prisoner, and they become haunted spirits. The tourist who has come to this prison claims to hear the whispering and the scream of the past prisoners, and the ghost can be caught on tape.
The Gettysburg Battlefield. The Battle of Gettysburg is the war between Union and Confederate forces during American Civil War, which is occurred from July 1st to July 3rd, 1863, in the town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It turned out to be a 3-day bloodbath that would change American history forever. It was the Civil War's bloodiest battle and was also the inspiration of President Abraham Lincoln's immortal Gettysburg Address. When the cannon smoke cleared, the Union soldiers had won, but nearly 5,000 horses and 50,000 men lay dead or dying. Many of the Confederate soldiers never received a proper burial. Now, more than 14 decades later, these unsettled spirits may still hover in Gettysburg. The ghost at Gettysburg phenomenon started in the 1990s. The most common ghostly phenomena at Gettysburg concern cameras. The triangular field was an equilateral triangle of about 3 acres in area, bounded by some stone walls 500 feet on a side. The walls faced the north toward Rose Woods and to the southwest and the southeast. The walls of the triangle had defensive potential, for the force that held a wall controlled the ground beyond it. The southwest wall provided shelters for the Confederates forming for attacks on the Union line. The World War gave the Confederates an advantage in their control of the south portion of Rhodes Woods. This spot is haunted, or strange things are afoot at the triangular field. People have reported seeing soldiers walking about only to find out that there were no reenactments going on. Others report that their cameras don't work.
Devil's Den is a few yards in front of a triangular field. It is the name given to a ridge strewn with large boulders south of the town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and about 500 yards west of Little Round Top on the Battle of Gettysburg battlefield. There were many photographs of Devil's Den taken during the battle, but it seems nowadays that an unusual number of cameras malfunction on the field. Visitors often experience a chill when this happens, or maybe because of the weather, maybe from a sudden supernatural fear, or perhaps from the presence of something not of this world.
The Forbidden City was center of power in China from the Ming Dynasty to the end of the Qing Dynasty. It is located in the center of Beijing, which is the capital of China now. And now it's mostly called the Palace Museum. It served as the home of 24 emperors of Ming and Qing dynasties and their households, as well as the ceremonial and political center of Chinese government for almost 500 years. Since 1925, the Forbidden City has been under the charge of the Palace Museum, whose extensive collection of artworks and artifacts were built up on the imperial collections of Ming and Qing dynasties. The Forbidden City covers an area of about 178 acres, with a total floor space of approximately 1,600,000 square feet. It consists of 90 palaces and county yards, 980 buildings and 8,074 rooms. As the home of the country's most powerful imperial families and their advisors, attendants, and concubines, numerous murders of power and passion have occurred within the palace's walls throughout centuries. Servants and officials stabbed each other in the back in an attempt to eliminate political opponents in the ranks. Not surprised that the Forbidden City is lousy with miserably earthbound spirits. Reports show that specters of imperial concubines and ghostly eunuchs roam through many rooms and halls, just like they did in life. Ghostly music has been heard playing at night, and groups of ghostly women in waiting have been seen walking through the corridors but only to disappear around the corner. However, scientists explain that the walls of the Forbidden City are red and contain sulfuric oxide, which is one of the main elements of videotape recorder. When there was electric current like lightning, Sulfuric oxide in the walls recorded what had happened back 200 years ago. What people saw today in rainy day was just a replay of what had been recorded by sulfuric oxide. Waverly Hills Sanitarium served as a tuberculosis hospital throughout the early to middle 20th century, a time when the disease was at its worst. It is believed that as many as 63,000 patients died there. The death toll, as well as supposed mistreatment as questionable experimental procedures on patients, are all recipes that may be behind one of the most haunted buildings in the US. Since fresh air was thought to be a possible cure, patients were often placed in front of the huge windows or on the open porches, no matter what the season. Old photographs show patients lying in chairs taking in the fresh air while covered with snow. Other treatments was less pleasant and much bloodier. Balloons would be surgically implanted in the lungs and then filled with air to expand them. Even worse, muscles and ribs were removed from a patient's chest to allow the lungs to expand further and let in more oxygen. This procedure was seen as a last resort and few of the patients survived it. The body chute, an enclosed tunnel that used to carry dead bodies from the hospital to the railroad tracks at the bottom of the hill. Using a motorized rail and cable system, the bodies were lowered in secret to the waiting trains. This was done to give patients hope so that they would not see how many were leaving the hospital as corpses. The Waverly Hills Sanitarium has built quite the reputation over the years as more and more people are allowed to investigate it. There are varying reports, including full-bodied apparitions, fleeting shadows, screams from empty rooms, footsteps, sudden cold spots, and disembodied voice among many others. You can look up at the top windows and see shadow people walking around when no one is in the building. It is believed that a little boy, Timmy, who bounces about haunts the third floor. Both boy and girl apparitions have been spotted. The girl is believed to be Mary Lee. You can hear her giggle at times. People have reported that she has no eyes. Room 502. It is said that a nurse who was depressed and pregnant hung herself in room 502. They found the baby on Pages Lane. Another story is that she jumped out the window.
Kick it down the hallway.
Take your time, whatever energy you need to save up to move it, you just take your time and move it for me. Thank you. That's a good job, Tim. That is awesome. Good job.
A priest that I know who is not a jokester and not a funny guy talks about when he was a young priest, the pastor of his parish had died, and he was the founding pastor. And after he had died, they could hear pacing up in his room, up and down, up and down. And when the pastor was alive, he used to pace up and down to read his daily prayers. And when he said something to another priest, that priest said that. He said, "Oh, Father's up in his room still saying his prayers." That's one of the stories. I could tell you a million stories. We'd be here forever. But those kinds of things. And historically, throughout history, there have been some great, great stories about help showing up on a battlefield, or people seeing somebody who saved them from drowning and things like that. So I don't know that if you could take all that information, there's not real facts, you can't prove it, but there's an awful lot of what they call stories, anecdotal information that I think points to the reality of ghosts.
Okay, so for anybody who wants to Google this, and you can go find this exact spot in there. I was born and raised in what's known as Chester County and Malvern, Pennsylvania area, not too far at all from Great Valley High School. I was within a mile of Great Valley High School where I grew up, on a road called Conestoga Road. Okay, it's also known as 401.
Okay.
And that whole stretch of road from the main intersection right there where Great Valley High School is, it has been known to be haunted since I was born, and people would tell stories and have experiences that they couldn't explain. And that runs from what is known as Phoenixville Pike, which goes by Great Valley High School and off into Phoenixville, or if you go the other way, it goes to Fraser. And that's that intersection up beyond the Backton Hill. Okay. Now back to, if you want to Google it, and people have asked me this many times, what is the intersection of my childhood? Well, that would be where I got off the school bus when I was a kid. Okay, and that would be above my parents' house, but right in the heart of ghost country. Okay.
However, there may be a more scientific basis to things that go bump in the night than a restless afterlife. Here are 6 logical explanations for the ghostly presence in our lives. However, there may be a more scientific basis to things that go bump in the night than a restless afterlife. Here are 6 logical explanations for the ghostly presence in our lives. 1. Electromagnetic fields. For decades, a Canadian neuroscientist named Michael Prensinger has studied and found that certain patterns of weak magnetic fields over someone's head for 15 to 30 minutes can create the perception that there is an invisible presence in the room. Other scientists have also found that environments that have a reputation for being haunted often feature unusual magnetic fields. 2. Infrasound. Infrasound is sound at levels so low humans can't hear it. Scientists studying the effects of wind turbines and traffic noise near residences have found that low-frequency noise can cause disorientation, feelings of panic, changes in heart rate and blood pressure, and other effects that could easily be associated with being visited by a ghost. 3. Mold. Shane Rogers, an engineering professor at Clarkson University, has spent the past few months touring reportedly haunted locations, looking for not-so-paranormal activity. Mold growth. Preliminary research indicates that some molds can cause symptoms that sound pretty ghostly, like irrational fear and dementia. It's hard to say whether that's a contributing factor or not, but anecdotally, we're seeing toxic mold exist in places that are haunted, he says. 4. Carbon monoxide poisoning. In 1921, a doctor named W.H. Wilmer published an odd story about a family who began experiencing weird phenomena when they moved into an old house. Hearing furniture moving around and strange voices in the night, feeling the presence of invisible specters. They report being held down in bed by ghosts, feeling weak and more. As it turned out, a faulty furnace was filling their house with carbon monoxide, causing aural and visual hallucinations. The furnace was fixed, and the family went back to their lives. 5. Someone else said it was real. One person's account can influence another person's memory. If someone else confidently asserts that they saw the ghost, it might influence a fellow eyewitness to believe they saw it too. We want to believe. There is a motivational side to believe in ghosts. We all want to believe in life after death. The idea of our mortality is one we're not generally comfortable with. Confirmation bias holds powerful sway over our perceptions. We find it much easier to believe evidence for something we want to believe anyway. The universe is way larger than what we can think of. There is a very big possibility that something else we don't know have been existing in the same space-time with us. Suppose that ghosts really exist. They have never meant to hurt human beings from various reports and news. Scary or not, can we just be friends?